Immunotech, one of the first family names you hear is Walper. Yes, we are all about family at Immunotech, and this remarkable family has not only experienced tremendous success and financial freedom with Immunotech, but they have also made a significant impact on the lives of others through their work. I now introduce to you the First Lady of Immunotech, Mrs. Sandy Walper, to lead us to tonight's featured guest. Welcome, Sandy.
Hi, Judy. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being on the call. I'm very excited to share this information with you tonight. And it's probably one of the reasons why I've stayed at this company so long and why my journey has been to help others worldwide. And I do this every day. So I want to tell you a little bit about this guest tonight. This is my youngest son, Eric. And Eric started on the product when he was about 6 years old. But prior to Eric starting on the product, Eric had a little bit of a problem. Actually, it was a big problem. Eric had chronic weeping eczema, and it was the worst case that the University of Alberta, the professor's name was Dr. Enta, and Dr. Enta tried everything. In fact, they used Eric with their interns when they were teaching dermatology because they had a really hard time to get his eczema under control. So as a mom, when you have a little guy and his skin is always weeping and cracking and breaking and bleeding, you try everything. So not only did I try every lotion there was, they used to make special formulas in Hannah, special prescriptions. I have wrapped Eric's legs when he was 5, 6, 4, 2. Like right from he was 2 years old, he had this in saran wrap, Vaseline. I mean, I had to wash his clothes separately. I couldn't use any detergent. They irritated his eczema. It was just crazy when you seen your son. And gloves, I put gloves on his hands so he wouldn't scratch in the night when he was a baby. And I had no idea, absolutely no idea how to get this under control. And so, you know, when Immunotech came along in December of 1996, you know, there was nobody in this company. And so we took the product out of Montreal General Hospital, and it was in canisters, and it was still in clinical trials. And I said, if this product works on my son, the world as I know it will change and my life will change. Because you have no idea when it's one of your family members and he's suffering, then you need to help that person, especially, you know, it's your baby. And so we didn't know how much Immunocal at the time to give him. He was like 6 years old. And so Carl just scooped some in a glass and said, well, let's try this. So we just tried it. And at the time, I mean, we had a milk cow and I just mixed it in raw milk because I was a farmer, and away we went. And we started giving all the kids it, as a matter of fact, and started taking it ourselves. And then about 2 weeks after Eric started taking it, we went swimming down to Drumheller, and Eric never would go in the pool because the chlorine would burn his skin. And so he would never go in the pool. And so one day, 2 weeks after he started taking Immunocal, Carl and I were sitting on the deck of the pool, and Eric went and jumped in the baby pool. And I'm like, oh my God. And Carl and I are sitting there and we're looking at Eric and we're looking at his skin and he's playing. And gradually his eczema cleared up. And not only did he have eczema, he always had like tonsillitis. I got his tonsils out when he was 4, and he was always kind of a sickly kid. And I don't know why. It's just some kids are, you know, different than other kids. So it's pretty special to me to introduce my son, Judy, because I believe that Eric is the longest person in Immunotech research since this product was reclassified from a drug to a food and put on the streets. He is the longest clinical trial that there ever was on one single person. He hasn't missed the product for 27 years. So Judy, I'm going to send it back to you, and Eric is standing by, and I want to thank everybody for being on this call. This is very, very special to me to have my youngest son on the call tonight. So thank you, and away you go, Judy.
Eric, you know what? First of all, I want to thank you for being on the call because Mommy asked you to.
Not a problem.
My first question to you is this. Who mixed the Immunocal when you were a child? Who mixed it better, Mom or Dad?
We don't pick sides in our family. But, I think when you're a child, I mean, I never even knew what I was taking. I think it happened just so organically. My mom, I think, would put it into orange juice and they would put it into yogurt. So when I was young, I didn't even know that I was actually taking Immunocal. And so it wasn't actually until I was a little bit older that we would mix it into milk. And that's probably when I realized for the first time that I was actually even taking Immunocal was when we started putting it into actually liquid.
It's interesting because most kids have an aversion to medicine. Wouldn't you agree? When they take, that's why they make penicillin taste like bananas to make it taste. So did you have any opposition to taking it as a child?
I don't think so. If I think back to, kind of when I started on the product, I don't think I did. Like I said, when we first kind of started taking it, I just remember that it was just part of the food your parent gave you. And I do remember getting better. And I remember my parents telling me that was one of the reasons why I got better was because I was taking Immunocal. So at that point, I mean, like I remember the eczema, and it was hard, right? Like, you did have, kind of social effects because of that. You'd have pain on your feet because your feet would be cracked and bleeding. And she wasn't wrong. To this day, I don't like going in swimming pools. And it's not because swimming pools bother me anymore. It's because I'm, like that affected me as a kid, right? So when you get told that this is the reason why you're not hurting anymore, then you don't really ask too many questions.
Yeah. It's interesting because I noticed that with my grandchildren, small, they took it no problem, so that's why I had to ask you that question. But, your mom shared with me a really interesting story of how the kids at school would ask you and your brothers what your parents did for work, and that how you really couldn't give them a definitive answer as to what they did. So you weren't really able to explain it. So in your memory, did you or your brothers realize how different your lifestyle was from other families?
I think we understood a little bit because truthfully, part of what Immunotech does is it allows you to kind of live a little bit of a lifestyle that you want. And so for my parents, what that lifestyle was is when we grew up on a farm, the great thing about growing up on a farm is your parents are around, right? I mean, your work is exactly where your home is. So when we moved off the farm in 1998, my parents went full time as Immunotech consultants. And to us, I mean, it wasn't a huge change from what we already knew. Like my parents were around. And so home was where my parents worked. And so I knew from the sense of that my parents didn't get up at 8 a.m. and go to work till 4. That was different. And when people asked what they did, it was definitely it was a conversation that wasn't easy to answer. But it wasn't a huge shift from what we already knew in the sense that my parents and my brothers and I, we always grew up and that was just how life was, is we were very fortunate enough that our parents were always around, and they've always been around because of what Immunotech, the way that you can use it as a profession.
I know that you're a very close-knit family. I've been in your company before. And how did you feel as a kid when your parents were always there for your games or for whatever activities you were doing?
I don't know anything else. So what I can say is that it's a great experience, and the memories there's a lot of them. And I think that's one of the greatest things about it is you have a wealth of memories because you were always fortunate enough to kind of be around your family growing up. And I think it's also one of the reasons why our family is very close. My siblings are extremely close because we grew up, really all together. And then I think we all share really good relationships even now amongst each other. So yeah, I definitely credit it a lot for that.
Wow. I just want to shift for gears for a minute here, and I want to talk a little bit about your experience in network marketing. I know you made it to the diamond rank in Immunotech. And what, in your experience, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about network marketing?
You know, the biggest misconceptions are the ones that I think anyone who's tried doing network marketing knows each and every day. Is we hear the terms like pyramid scheme, and you hear things like this, and I think the problem with that is that it puts a gray cloud over credible companies with credible products, right? And so I think that's the biggest misconception is, you know, you always hear about people kind of trying to almost snake oil sell some of these products, which don't end up being great companies in the end. And there's a long list of companies which end up just blowing up, right? And so I think that's the biggest challenge you have when you're kind of trying to talk to someone, and especially as a, you know, like I'm a millennial, so I'm slightly of a younger demographic, and so I think that that's a little bit more where some of that misconception comes from, is that really kind of became more relevant when social media and when communication changed as well in the early 2000s. And so did the way that people communicated in general, right? And I think it's been a challenge, obviously, for when you look at how does network marketing fit into the 21st century, is how do we learn to work around some of those misconceptions which have come up as a result of the way the world has changed, right?
Yeah. So Eric, do you feel that the millennials are more open to the concept of network marketing?
I think it depends on how you define it, right? So I would say, like, on the surface, I would say no. I would say when you look at what the way millennials look at what network marketing has always been, I would say no, because they perceive it as that. But I think that, you know, network marketing, like anything, slowly over time will do an evolution as well, and it becomes more integrated into the digital economy, and more, you know, a great example is this, we're on Zoom and things like that. And as that happens, it catches up a little bit, right? And so I think it then changes a little bit of that misconception so that it's more easily accepted. But I mean, it's, you know, in North American society, everyone knows that we don't pick up and go over for coffee at a friend's house anymore. That doesn't happen. Those dinner meetings, they're not as common, especially amongst a millennial demographic. And so there is a challenge with how do we evolve the business and evolve network marketing into a demographic or into an age population which they just never grew up doing that, right? And so the chances are it's probably not going to be something they gravitate towards. And so how do we work around that?
Interesting points. Now, you've accomplished a lot with Immunotech. So in your opinion, what are some of the most rewarding aspects of being an Immunotech consultant, both personally and professionally? Because you're a physiotherapist, correct?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And I work professionally, you know, technically as a contractor. And so there's a little bit of similarities. And I would say the biggest reward of network marketing is freedom. Honestly, it gives you the opportunity. There's nothing more fulfilling than being your own boss, and being able to make your work around you as compared to the other way around. Right. And so I think when you look at what does, as a consultant or as a distributor, what does that allow you to do? I mean, from the broader sense, it gives you the opportunity to travel the world. It gives you the opportunity to win trips. I mean, I don't get the opportunity of winning a trip to Mexico when I go in and work as a physiotherapist. Right. So, I mean, there's a reason why we do some of this. And part of it is because otherwise, or that's an opportunity that some people might never have that opportunity, right? And so it just gives you another chance to kind of live maybe a different lifestyle that you otherwise would never have an opportunity to do.
Wow. So you graduated from the University of Alberta with distinction. How do you see your role as an Immunotech consultant helping your profession?
Well, I work as a physiotherapist, and everyone always assumes physiotherapists, they just treat injuries, right?
That's right.
My first degree before I became a physiotherapist is I actually graduated with a degree in immunology. So my first degree was a bachelor's of science in immunology. So that there was definitely an inkling to, obviously, because of Immunotech, is there's a reason why I did that. Physical pain and physiotherapy is not very different than immunology. Physical pain is the body's physical manifestation of a dysfunctional immune system. Most people don't realize that. We don't just get arthritis. Arthritis is inflammation in your joints. You don't just get rheumatoid arthritis. That's a dysfunctional autoimmune condition. And this is consistent with every single injury that you'll have in your body, even an ankle sprain. Why does somebody heal within 2 weeks and other people heal within 6 weeks? The reason why is because your immune system is the thing that heals you. And so when you look at something like even Immunotech and Immunocal, it's absolutely makes perfect sense that someone who has had a background with Immunotech and understands the product and understands how important the immune system is I spend half my day talking to people about inflammation and the immune system, because that is how we move through a physical ailment. Is if we don't understand how somebody's immune system works, well, then you're never going to be able to overcome your physical dysfunction, right? And so, for the longest time, physiotherapy has always been perceived in this one light, but there's a lot of, research that's coming out that we actually need to kind of take a much more holistic approach is one thing. But even when you don't have that new age holistic approach, the science is there to show that it's absolutely indistinguishable is how we need to kind of look at some of these things. So, in terms of my profession, I think it's a great eye that I have to put a new spin on an old profession.
Wow. Getting back to family. As a child of a highly regarded career network marketer, which is your mom and your dad, what advice would you give to millennials or anyone that's considering starting a career in Immunotech?
One word, work. Immunotech network marketing is work, and that's no different than any other kind of work. And unfortunately, there is a lot of stigmas around millennial generation and things. And I do think sometimes we think that things can come easy. But the reality is, I grew up with this and watched my mom build a business, and it was a lot of hard work. And if you put that work in, it's really rewarding, and you're going to reap the benefits of those rewards. But it takes a lot of disappointment, a lot of rejection, but a lot of hard work. And in the end, it can work out. But you got to just keep putting the time in, and you have to keep having those really open conversations with people, and you have to be super humble, and you just have to keep moving forward.
Wow, that's great advice. So why do you think Immunotech's a great opportunity in your mind?
It comes down to the product. Truthfully speaking, I mean, there are other great network marketing companies out there. There are, but the only good ones are the ones which have great products, right? There is no network marketing company in the world that sells a nutritional supplement that boosts your immune system. And you actually can't buy this nutritional supplement that boosts your immune system, not network marketing, because Immunotech's the only one that does it. So the reason why Immunotech would be a great option for people, because in a world that's full of misinformation, in a world that's full of, just noise, the one thing you can lean on is the facts. And the facts is that it's the only company that has a product which has truly got the science to back it. And that's just the facts. And so if you're really just trying to, if someone says, why should I join, or why should I, pick this product? And the facts is because you can't get it anywhere else, period. You can buy essential oils from the store. You can buy makeup from the store. And yes, maybe it's a little bit different from the network marketing company's version, but you cannot buy a supplement which naturally boosts your immune system from the store. There's nowhere in the world, and the only place to get it is at a network marketing company called Immunotech. So that's just kind of the only shop in town.
Yeah. Wow. Eric, I'm going to tell you, it's been totally inspiring listening to you tonight. And I'm going to say, as an older person, that it's very refreshing to hear the younger perspective on what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. But more importantly, it's interesting that you've had what we'd call a whole lifetime experience with Immunotech, starting from little to today, and still using the product and still impacting people's lives with the product. Thank you so much for being on this call. And I want to thank you on behalf of our audience too. I'm sure they got a ton of value from you being on the call tonight. So thank you so much.
No problem.
Sandy, do you want to add anything before?
Well, I would just like to say, you know, Judy, I think you did a really great job. And Eric, I'm just so proud of you and your spin on everything. And I just love working this company with my family, Judy, and what a reward that is to be able to work with your family, right? And so I want to thank you for everything you do as well, Judy. Thank you very much.
It's been a great call. I want to thank everybody for being with us this week. And I want you to pay attention to what we're doing here every week. We're bringing the real life stories of Immunotech to the screen. And I want you to share this information with your friends, your family, your chiropractor, your naturopath, your physiotherapist, all the people that affect your life each and every day. Please bring them to the call next week to hear another great story. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to Sandy and to Eric. Thank you for your legacy. Thank you for continuing in this business. And thank you for inspiring us all tonight. God bless. We'll see you next week, everyone. Good night.